Hey, welcome back to Life on the Wrist. Hope you're doing well. So today we're going to talk about restoration and what it means for the vintage watch world. There was a recent watch auction at Christie's was selling the reference 6062 from Rolex, nicknamed the Pink Stelline, and there was some restoration that was done on it, and we're going to discuss what that means for that specific watch and what auction results ended up telling us about the world of restoration, and perhaps some thoughts about what's going to happen in the future. So if you haven't already, like this video, that'd be greatly appreciated, and let's get straight into it. So as I said, Christie was selling this reference 6062. This version was actually sold a couple of years previously in 2015, and it fetched 315,000 or thereabouts Swiss francs. And what was interesting about it was it actually was a relummed version. The lume plots on the 6062 were redone by a watchmaker, and it actually ended up, in my opinion, was done kind of sloppily, and the lume plots were oversized. So it kind of didn't go with the proportions of the original dial that Rolex had created. At the time, there were others that were in original condition that were going for, you know, close to 1 million Swiss francs. There was one that went for 950,000 Swiss francs. So a third of the price because of that relume dial. So it kind of shows that, you know, in 2015, having restorations conducted on your dial would really diminish the value. The new owner who purchased it in 2015, in my opinion, did a really great thing. And decided to remove the lume that was applied and have it relumed with period correct radium, and also had the size of the lume plots be as original as possible, be as close to the original size that they were on the original 6062. So because he had this redone, it was considered a restored version of the watch. So Christie's had this again at auction, and this time they had it at an estimate between $1 and $2 million Swiss francs. This watch ended up selling for 975,000 Swiss francs, which includes the buyer's premium. So the simple act of you know, reluming and perhaps making it as close to the original as possible perhaps went a very long way. And I think there's two types of collectors and schools of thought that people kind of go about. The first is that the watch must be all original. If it's not all original, they're not touching it. And I think this has become so much more common because we are in an age of knowing just about everything about watches. We can go online and search the reference and get pictures and get details from archives, and watch companies are a lot more forthcoming with the history of their watches. So, you know, because of this digital age and accessibility to information, a lot of collectors really want the watches to be all original, which I can completely see that side of things. The other side is that people are a little bit more lenient. They allow for things not to be all original, but they want, and I think this is, you know, perhaps there's a third arm where it's like, we don't really care how it is as long as I have that reference. I'm going to leave that to the side because we're talking a little bit more about, you know, I don't want to say true collecting, but a little bit closer to, you know, we want all original. So, like I said, all original, and the second is they don't mind if things are not all original, but they want it as close as possible to what the original was. And I think this is the camp that the new collector who just sold it, who had it reloomed to the correct sizes, that's the camp that he is sitting in. And I think this is becoming a little bit more accepted among collectors to have a watch that's as close as possible to the original. I know that there was a Daytona that sold at auction that didn't have its original bracelet, but someone decided to purchase a period correct bracelet and put it on that Daytona. So I think that, in my opinion, is responsible collecting, and it's allowing us to keep things as true as possible without, you know, spoiling it. And it's becoming a lot more accepted. And I think the reason for that is because it's becoming harder and harder for us to find high quality versions of these watches. A 6062 in all original condition is extremely hard to find. And the reason for that is because people want to keep them. They have an extremely rare watch, extremely beautiful watch from Rolex. Why would they want to give that up? So people are keeping them, so there's not much on the market right now. Next is, and the second reason I think why it's becoming harder to find high quality watches is because as collectors, perhaps we purchased something a few years ago, like a 6062 that we had reloomed, and the lume plots were completely unproportional. And we don't want to send them to auction because we don't want that version to be marked and to be, everyone to know, oh, that reference 6062 with that serial number is just bad. We don't want that publicized mark, and that's what happens when you have a digital age. So that's the two reasons why it's becoming a little bit more accepted for this to happen. So I think restoration is now, there's obviously really, really bad restoration. Steer clear of that. Don't even touch that. But I think restoration that's allowing watches to become as close to their original condition as possible is becoming a lot more valued, and people are accepting it a lot more. I think restoration can be done well, but it can also be done really, really badly. So I would caution you to make sure that if you are looking to do this type of thing, don't get a bad person to do this. So bring it to the most original condition as possible, like this gentleman did with, he even got period correct radium. That's pretty epic. Yeah, I hope that kind of gives you some thoughts about restoration. Being that this watch just sold, I think it's great that someone brought it to the period correct, was able to sell it for 3 times what they invested in it in 2015. There's probably a slight investment to have it reloomed and get the period correct radium, but still, I appreciate the collector who did that, and I think you're making that type of collector is allowing for the watch world and vintage watch world in terms of restoration to be a little bit more accepted, and I appreciate that greatly. So if you've made it this far and you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We make videos about watches all the time, so 3 days a week. If you want to get some more watch content, take a look at our channel. Check out our Instagram. It's @lifeonthewrist. Pretty basic. We post there basically daily, so take a look at that as well. And I hope you guys have a nice rest of your day.